StraightAllDay.com.
Containment versus suppression, and why most men get this wrong.
Yeah.
Not too long ago, I did I believe it was a 2-part series, but let me check. Maybe it was longer than that. No, it was a 4-part series, 4-part series a few weeks ago on why powerful men never masturbate. This was episode 34, 38. I did a 4-part series on that. And some people may, if you just hear that title and you didn't hear what I actually said, because I explained it pretty well, if I may say so myself. Some people may look at what I explained in that episode and say, well, Dre, you're suppressing yourself. Why would you want to suppress that energy or suppress your expression or suppress whatever it is that you want to let out? Well, this episode here today is going to explain why it's not suppression. I'm going to explain the difference between suppression and containment. They are two different things, even though they may give off similar ideas or may create similar images in your mind. And again, I'm going to explain why most people get this wrong. That's why I'm doing this episode. When you suppress, which is defined as, the definition of suppressing is to put down by authority or force, or to exclude from consciousness. You may be confusing that with containment. The definition of containment is the act, process, or means of keeping something within limits. So suppression is to hold something down and stop something from happening by force. Containment, on the other hand, is keeping something within limits. In other words, the thing exists, but you're just creating parameters and standards around a thing, as opposed to suppression, which is pushing a thing down and not even allowing it to exist. So containment, rather, is something that you are keeping control over, as opposed to suppression, which, again, you're trying to completely stop it from even being there. When you push your feelings, impulses, or energy down, i.e. suppressing them, those feelings, impulses, and energies, they still find their way out. Why? Because they leak out in other ways that are even more destructive. It's kind of like trying to block water from flowing into something. You may be able to block it for a moment, but eventually little trickles of water or drops of water are going to find their way through till eventually the dam breaks and then everything comes through. Containment, on the other hand, as opposed to suppression, suppression leads to leakages that can become very self-destructive. Containment, on the other hand, is a form of self-mastery, because when you are containing, you are holding, directing, and using your energy in a chosen way. And this distinction is what separates average men from true presence. Average men from men with true presence. So today we're going to talk about why containment and suppression are not the same, and why you want to go strong on one of those, which is containment, and not even have to deal with the other one, which is suppression. And if you contain properly, there's nothing to suppress. That's the good news. Point number one. Today's topic, once again, is containment versus suppression and why most men get it wrong. Number one, when you suppress your energy, you are making a show of strength to hide what is actually weakness. When you're suppressing an energy, you are using what looks like strength on the surface to hide what is actually weakness. Let me explain what I mean. When you suppress an emotion or a desire or an impulse, as again, we've been talking about this a lot the last couple of days, you will look calm on the outside, at least in the short run, but the suppression eventually leaks out through uncontrolled emotions, bad decisions, addictions, or some form of passive aggressive behavior. That's what passive aggression is. Passive aggression is a leakage of energy that you haven't found a way to contain or control, so you end up leaking it out in other ways. I did an entire series starting in episode 3395, a 4-part series again, on how to eliminate your passive aggression. And one reason that passive aggression happens, again, actually the only reason passive aggression happens, is when someone is trying to suppress an energy that they want to let out. They decided logically that it doesn't make sense, maybe politically, maybe logically speaking, relationship-wise, it doesn't make sense to let this energy out. And they logically say, okay, I'm not going to let this energy out because it may not work out in my favor if I do. So what the person tries to do is suppress the energy. But when you suppress an energy can't be completely suppressed forever. Eventually it finds its way out. Again, it's like trying to hold water back from overflowing. Eventually little droplets of water are going to come through. Then there may be a little squirt, and then the levee breaks and all the water just bursts through. And that's usually what happens when people are being passive aggressive, especially if they eventually get called out on their passive aggression. Then all that aggression that they've been trying to suppress eventually all comes out in one burst, and they look even worse when they, again, cannot control the energy. Passive aggression is a form of energy that cannot be controlled. That's what passive aggression is. It's aggression that you couldn't control, so it comes out passively. Aggression that you completely don't control comes out in terms of an outburst or just a flame out, or what some of you call these days crashing out. All right, that's aggression that's completely out of control. Contained aggression, on the other hand, it will show itself in controlled behavior that is fully and logically directed. It has a lot of energy in it, but it's completely directed and it's completely under control. All aggression, just different ways of aggression coming out. I told you all the story, probably when I did that passive aggressive series. I think I told this story, but I know I've told it in some episode here. How a friend of mine was upset at me about something. I didn't know they were upset, but over the series of about a week, this friend of mine was showing me, this is through what was happening was a group text conversation. This friend was showing that they were upset at me about something through their passive aggressive behavior. They were doing things and saying things that were passive aggressive. And I was noting that it looked like something was off with this person, but I couldn't quite tell what it was. Now, I know this person well enough. This person could have, and they know me well enough, they could have reached out to me and told me whatever the issue was, but they didn't do that. They were being passive aggressive, and the passive aggression, the level of passive aggression, the leakages were happening more and more frequently. And again, this is only over the course of a week, so it's not like this is happening for years. But I noticed that, okay, this person's obviously leaking, and they obviously have something that they want to get off their chest, but they hadn't gotten it off their chest. So I was wondering what the hell the problem was. And again, this person has direct access to me, but they didn't reach out to me and tell me what the problem was. But I noticed that there was one. So I reached out to that person directly to have a direct conversation through the phone. And when I got this person on the phone, the first thing they did was, again, the levee broke. The levee broke. This person basically cussed me out for about 90 seconds. It was a long time to get cussed out. Then they hung the phone up before I had a chance to even respond to them. I will say this was a male, and I said this in that series, or whatever episode I told this story. It wasn't that long ago I told the story, because I remember listening to it myself. And I will tell you the same thing that I said to that person. They know I said it directly to them. I said, that's some pussy behavior. It was a male, and I said, what you just did was some pussy shit, because men don't do this. If you really had an issue, you should have been calling me like 3 days ago, 5 days ago, and told me that there was an issue. You didn't say anything. You let your energy leak out passively. And then when I called you on your bullshit, then you went and exploded, and then you didn't even give me a chance to respond like a bitch. And now I got to come back to you and say, what the hell is your problem? All right, none of this should be happening when men are having a conversation. That's what happens when you try to suppress an energy. I'm giving you all that example to help you understand. When you try to suppress an energy, it still finds its way out. It just finds its way out in ways that you're not controlling, in ways that leak out. And an observant person will notice your energy leakages. They may say something to you. They may not. Most of the time, people won't say anything to you, because most human beings, in my experience, are not nearly as direct as I am when it comes to communication. A lot of people don't want to have uncomfortable conversations. I don't mind having uncomfortable conversations. Actually, I enjoy them for the most part. And when you're trying to suppress energy, an observant person will notice that suppression. And again, they may say something, they may not. Suppression is like trying to put your finger in a leak of a wall of a dam. Again, eventually the water is going to overpower and burst through, no matter how many fingers you can plug into how many holes. All right. Instead, what you want to do is contain your energy. That exact same energy. So the same situation I was just telling you about, somebody get mad at somebody else for some reason, and for whatever reason, maybe they want to directly confront that person for whatever reason. Maybe it's not worth it. Maybe they'll sound petty. Maybe they don't have time to. What you can do instead of trying to suppress that energy is instead contain it. And let me tell you how to do it. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is containment versus suppression, why most people get it wrong. Number 2, containment is power under control. Now, understand that every emotion, every impulse, every instinct, these all have energy inside of them. Emotions, desires, and impulses all contain energy. Why? Because, well, actually, let me back up. Why am I saying containment is power under control? Because energy harnessed properly is power. Power is having a certain amount of energy, whether it's mental energy, physical energy, emotional energy, financial energy. All of these things have energy in them. You got to learn how to control the energy within them. When a man does not deny his energy, i.e., if you're angry, don't deny that you're angry. Don't act like you're not angry. Again, or don't suppress your anger. Let me not say it that way. You can act like you're not angry. There's a use to that. So let me back up on that one. When a man does not deny his energy, such as when you feel angry, frustrated, sad, embarrassed, happy, or any other energy, you hold the energy and you channel it such that it can be used on your terms. That's what containment means. I feel this energy. I feel angry. I feel frustrated. I feel happy. I feel excited, whatever it is. I'm going to hold that energy. I feel it. Now I'm going to channel it and I'm going to control in which direction it goes. I'm basically directing traffic when it comes to my energy. This is the energetic management business. I have a few episodes on the show where I talked about you being in the emotional management business. That was episode number 560. You're in the emotional management business. This is the energetic management business because every emotion has energy in it. Impulses have energy. Desires have energy. So the man who knows how to contain has mastered this emotional management business. And again, we're all in this business, by the way. You're either doing a good job or a bad job, but we're all in it. The most powerful people are those who are able to manage, control, and direct their emotions and energies, not the people who let their emotions grab the steering wheel and drive them off a cliff. People who allow their emotions to drive them off the cliff are people who you see them having these emotional outbursts. You see them cussing people out. You see them not being able to control their anger or their sadness or their frustration or even their happiness and positive energies. Their energy just overflows and they have no containment whatsoever. These are some of the people who sometimes will say, proudly even, that they wear their hearts on their sleeves or I wear my emotions on my sleeve. You ever known somebody to say that? Sometimes women say it, but this episode is not targeted at women. A man who wears his emotions on his sleeve is a man who does not know how to contain his emotions. If you say you wear your emotions on your sleeve, all you're saying is every time you feel an emotion, you have no containment of it and no control over it. So it must just express itself fully, however it is that you're feeling it in that moment, and you have no control over it and you're proud of it. That's what you're saying. That's what it means when you say I wear my emotions on my sleeve. All right, that is a lack of containment. And no, that's not a good thing. The most powerful people, again, control and direct their emotions. Doesn't mean the emotion is not there. You just learn how to control it. You learn how to utilize this energy. Same way that any of you who knows how to drive a car, you don't just turn your car on and put it in drive and just slam on the gas pedal and hope that you can steer without killing yourself. You touch the gas pedal enough to get the car moving, usually to get out of your parking spot, which you don't want to speed out of. Maybe you got to get out of a parking garage or a parking lot where the speed limit may be 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then you got out on the road. Maybe you're going 20 miles per hour. You get on a highway. Maybe you go 45, 50. You get on the interstate. Maybe you go 65, 75, 80. But there are levels to how much you press on the gas pedal. You don't just go slam on the gas pedal as soon as the car starts. Wouldn't be good for your car. Probably wouldn't be good for your health either. Everybody understands this. It's the same thing when it comes to controlling your emotions. You don't just slam on the gas pedal of your emotions, just start driving, and wherever you end up, you end up. All right, that's a bad idea. All right, and any of you who's ever done that before know what you end up doing when you just slam on the gas pedal and you just end up anywhere. You do what a lot of people like to use this term these days. You crash out. All right, they're literally crashing out. It's called crashing out for a reason. Now you see how all this connects? So when a dam does not have holes in it, the pressure is still there. I'm talking about a dam like that holds water. So the containment is like the dam that doesn't have any leaks. So the pressure is still there on the dam, but the pressure is being managed and intentionally released periodically to create power. That's what containment does. This is long-term drive. An example of long-term drive is you can look at an athlete, for example, who has a season that they don't like. They didn't win the championship last season, but they want to win the championship next season. So they take all the energy and the emotions that they felt when they lost last year. They channel that into their training and preparation during the off season, then their performance during the regular season of the next season, and then during the playoffs of the next season. And it comes to a crescendo probably somewhere around the championship round. And that's when they go out there and they perform at a super high level and they end up winning the championship. But they had to have a long-term job of maintaining and using that energy selectively over the course of a whole year to get back to the same place to having the opportunity to do it again. Good example, you take somebody like Michael Jordan. Came back from baseball, lost. The next year he got himself motivated again and in his prime basketball playing mode again. And during that next year, he contained his energy, led the Bulls to the best at the time record ever in the history of an NBA regular season, and then on to win the next 3 NBA championships. That's contained energy let out strategically. He let the energy out when he needed to. It wasn't like he was running around the lobby of the hotel at every game, pounding his chest, telling everybody he's the greatest player of all time. He had to contain that energy. Okay, let me do it for this game. This game's over. Okay, let me calm down and relax until the next game. Okay, here's another game. And this guy played 82 games 3 years straight. NBA season is 82 games long. In other words, he did not miss a single game for 3 straight seasons. Won the NBA Finals MVP all 3 years. Won the NBA Championship Award all 3 years. And won 2 out of 3 MVP awards of the regular season during that 3-year span after he lost. That's containment of energy. Another example that some people like to point to, but has been hotly debated, is the 2000, I don't know what year this was. It might have been 2000, I don't know what year it was. It was either sometime between 2012 and 2015, the White House Correspondents' Dinner. This is a dinner where the people who do all the reporting, the reporters who report on Washington, D.C., they all come for a big event, which is a ceremonial dinner, and a bunch of speakers come up, usually some guest speaker like a comedian, and then you have the president who comes up and gives remarks, and they basically tell a bunch of jokes and this whole big funny thing. So some of you know the story that I'm about to tell here. So at the time that this dinner happened, President was Barack Obama, and one of his guests at this dinner, and there's a lot of people at the dinner. So people, all of these different types of people come to the dinner who are in media. One of the guests at the dinner was Mr. Donald Trump. He was not president at this time. Again, this is Barack Obama's term. Donald Trump gets invited to the dinner, and I believe it was Seth Meyers was the guest comedian. He comes up and he tells some jokes about Donald Trump. And they were funny. They were okay. Then Barack Obama, he comes up, he tells some jokes about Donald Trump, and everybody in the room's laughing at Donald Trump. Donald Trump is like kind of, sort of laughing. He's like smirking, but you can't quite tell if he was really laughing. I don't think he found the jokes too funny, but he knew the whole room was looking at him, so he pretended as if he wasn't super bothered by what got said there. And a lot of people say, looking back on that Correspondents' Dinner, was the very night that Donald Trump said, okay, these people want to make fun of my presence. Because at this time, Donald Trump had been hinting that he might one day run for president. And people didn't really think it was serious. I didn't think it was serious. Even when he was running for president that first time, I didn't think it was serious. And after that night, when people made all those jokes about him running for president, as if there was no way he could ever win, like this guy's a joke, forget about him, he's just a punchline. A lot of people say that was the night that Donald Trump said, okay, now I'm going to show these people, okay, you think I can't win? We'll see. And the next 10 years happened. I don't know if that's true or not. You ask Donald Trump, he has often said it's not true, but I don't know. Maybe one day I'll give Donald Trump some truth serum and he can tell the truth. But containment is energy released in a controlled way over an extended period of time, not just one big outburst at one point, which is what a lot of men do when they don't contain their energy. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is containment versus suppression, why most men get it wrong. Number 3, people can feel the energy of containment. And this is a part a lot of people don't get. See, a lot of people think when you're containing energy that the energy is never felt or just completely disappears. Well, that violates the law of conservation of energy, which states energy is neither created nor destroyed. It merely changes forms and or it moves from one object to another. In other words, when you contain energy, the energy does not disappear. That's impossible. It's scientifically impossible for energy to just go away. When you have energy, people can feel it even when you're not giving off effort. We just talked about this a few episodes ago. Your energy can speak volumes even if you're just standing still or sitting somewhere in a corner doing absolutely nothing physically, but people can feel your energy. People can feel it in your eye contact. They can feel it in your words. They can feel it in your overall aura that you have energy even if you are not giving off effort. Why? Because none of your energy is spilling out of you uncontrollably. All the energy is contained within you. So somebody can look you in your eye and feel your energy even if you're standing still. You understand? That's what contained energy feels like. Most men default, however, to suppression. They try to suppress their energy and act like it's not there, because suppressing your energy is easier than containing your energy. When you suppress your energy, you're just basically trying to ignore it. You're shoving things down and hoping that they stay hidden. The problem is, again, as I've already told you, you cannot do that. That's not possible. It eventually is going to find its way out, whether you want it to or not. And it will find its way out at inopportune times and in inopportune ways. Containment, on the other hand, requires discipline, awareness, and conscious practice. In other words, you have to do work on yourself to be able to contain energy, whereas suppression, you're not really working on yourself. You're not doing anything. You're not working at all. All right, 3 things most people have very little of. Again, these things that allow you to contain your energy: discipline, awareness, and conscious practice. Let's recap today's class, which is containment versus suppression, why most men get it wrong. When you suppress, which is, again, defined as to put down by authority or force, you are confusing it oftentimes with containment, which means keeping something within limits. And when something you are keeping control over, containment rather, is something you can keep control over, as opposed to suppression, which is when you're trying to put something down as if it doesn't exist. Number one, when you suppress, you are making a show of strength to hide what is actually weakness. And again, it's going to leak out whether you want it to or not, even if you try to keep it down. Eventually, it will show itself. Whatever has happened in the dark eventually will come to the light. Number two, containment is power under control. When a man does not deny anger, frustration, sadness, embarrassment, happiness, or any other emotion he may be feeling, he is holding the energy, channeling it, and using it on his terms. This is how you get long-term energy, is that you channel and command your energy so it comes out when you want it to come out, not when it feels like coming out. And number three, people can feel the energy of containment. Again, a person can be standing still. You can look at them or just walk by them or shake their hand, and you can feel their energy even if they're not giving off any effort. Why? Because they've contained all the energy within them. All of you have felt this before. All of you have experienced it and seen it in other people before. Good news is there's a whole process to making yourself this type of person and being like this type of person all the time. What we call that is the Power Presence Protocol. It's a program that I do, live training. We send you a manual. We have live training on this. The manual is over 300 pages long. It's all about how do you have the energy that allows people to feel you, notice you, and remember you, even if they never talk to you, just because of your aura, your energy, the way you carry yourself. This is all based on your discipline, your performance, your confidence, your aura, and your overall energy. Not only how you are, but what you do, how you speak, how you communicate with yourself, how you communicate with others. All of that is encompassed in this program, amongst a whole bunch of other things. You want to learn how to get this type of power presence? Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Click the button on that page for the Power Presence Protocol. You can sign up for the next time we start the live training. Work on your game. Dre, all